welcome to the Beauties and Beasties podcast with Alex and Sean.
Hello, hello, hello. How are we doing?
Good. What is it? Good afternoon or good evening, because it's getting very late, isn't it?
Well, it's certainly not good morning, dude. So any of the other two would be more than applicable. So yes, good pre-evening. Is that all the one?
Yeah, it's like a brunch, isn't it? A pre-evening. Yeah. How's your Matt Arnold, first one in? Whoop whoop. Well done, Matt.
Yeah, there we
Your
go.
little winner.
From
Your little
YouTube,
winner.
no less, as well. Crikey, you've changed, Matt. You've changed, Squeaky. So there we go. So anyone who doesn't know, and I'm going to drop Matt in it. His company has the very best name, in my opinion. Go on, Sean. Do you want to tell us what Matt's company's called?
Oh yeah, it's called Squeakaboo.
Yeah,
Squeakaboo.
Squeakaboo.
It's Matt. Yeah, Matt will tell you, like, I hate the name. I hate it. However, for anybody who doesn't like the name, if you ever want to see a nice, clean website that's well branded, like, as soon as you look at it, it's just a really, really good, incredibly professional website. And trust us, there'll only be one Squeakaboo Pest Control. But yeah.
I think the name's brilliant. I think it's inspired. You don't forget it, do you? At the end of the day, it sticks with you.
Yeah.
It's if you were to ask me to, pick a name out of a hat, it would probably be the first one on there. So
you've got to remember, there's where at other ends of the spectrum, aren't there? There's like Kill Lane and Squeakaboo.
Weight environmental.
And that's what people say about me. It pulled me back on Saturday, which has been like to a point where Sunday and Monday I was literally lying straight, couldn't move. Slowly got better. Yeah, exactly, Matt. Matt's right. I love that you hate it. And that's exactly what branding should be, isn't it? You can't please everyone. And as Alex says, it sticks in your brain, doesn't it? Like, it's perfect. Yeah. And then my weeks just got slowly better, to be fair. Went and priced up a massive job on Wednesday, which would be a good one for us. Bradley Smallwood, if you have. So again, I want to apologize to anyone if I haven't been in touch with you. I've just been rammed this week. We are getting through them. And next week I'm was in the office until today. And then we've booked in several honeybee surveys, a couple of honeybee jobs. So we'll be flat out next week, but I am going to make a conscious effort to get caught up on the past software stuff. We're looking forward to that. Happy days. Looking at a grade 2 listed building for honeybee removal, which is about 2 hours drive away, for a local authority, within a local authority that we've never done any work with their conservation officer before. That's always a first sticky stone, getting over that first one, till they are comfortable and happy with you. So that'll be fun. And then pretty good week. Yourself?
Sorry, I literally watched your brain take a sigh then, where it just said, it's the end of the week. And I could just literally see your face be like,
I'll tell you what else I did as well. On Wednesday night, I worked late. I put some clearer boards on the hive on Monday, went and took the honey off on Wednesday night, and just had a massive evening of extracting honey. I think we've extracted 610 pound of honey in weight on Wednesday night. Now, if anyone's extracted 610 pound of honey, if I tell you I picked up the boxes at around about 3:30, 4 o'clock, you'll have an idea of how late we went extracting. But it's done, and we are in the process of turning that into a creamed honey at the minute. All the bees are getting moved this weekend to their new ground, so Saturday, Sunday's going to be ramoed. We are in the teeth of the storm, in the eye of the storm at the minute. Teeth of the storm, eye of the storm, which one is it?
It's eye of the storm. I've never heard teeth of the storm.
Must
be
eye of the storm.
That's not.
I might have just made it up. Might not even be a northern thing, mate. Don't worry about it. I don't. But yeah, how was your week?
Oh, my week's been an interesting one. I'm going to start at the beginning and move to the end. So this week, of course, the last week that I'm working for Wade Environmental. So I
Oh,
decided I was,
is
yeah.
it?
So yeah,
Wow,
yeah.
that went fast because it felt like it was like 10 years away when you said, really.
Mm. It really did, and then it suddenly was a week away. So I decided this week I'll just sort of like I'll take the week off to prep myself for it. And that didn't happen that did not happen at all. I didn't end up taking any time at all off. I ended up going to do a field biology visit on Tuesday. Fine, quite enjoy those. That's all good. However, through a miscommunication, was sent to the wrong site. So this poor company got a surprise FB audit, and they were particularly good about it. They didn't let on that they didn't realize I wasn't meant to be there, which didn't help me much either, because they're like, ah, yes, we've been expecting you. Right. So I audited their site full on, audited it, and it's only on the way out, like the following day, I got a phone call being like, I was expecting you, I was expecting you to go to this site. And I was like, that was not the site I was anticipating. Where did you go? And I was like, here. And they're like, oh, okay, well, they needed one anyway. So yesterday I ended up going to the right site and audited that instead. But that was interesting. But today was a mixed day, because it was my last day at Wade, full at Wade Environmental. So it was just
Yeah.
basically a day of, doing the stuff that I liked in the labs, just working in the labs. I finished up writing a couple of articles for Pest magazine, and just spent the day with Ellen and made sure that she was happy to hand over and continue running the place in my absence. So it will continue. I'm sure we'll get her on actually the podcast at some point, just to introduce her
Mhm.
and just to see how it's going. But as you surely know, the Wade Environmental and IPMC is still going to be continuing on. But as of
Yeah.
Monday, I will be Alex Wade, BASF Global Technical and Marketing Manager for Rodenticides. So I'll be heading all over the world, talking about how to kill rats and mice for BASF. So that's going to be really exciting. I mean, it's the exciting thing for me with this is it's going global. That's the big thing. That's the big lure for me. It's going to see how pest management is done around the world. And in my mind, there's two things with that, which is um, taking, we are in the UK, all that we think of it or not, we are very good at pest management in the UK. We have a lot of challenges, both regulatory. I'm not going to say it 3 times fast, Niall. You can go away. We've got a lot of challenges. We've got a lot of hoops to jump through, and yet we still manage to do pest management exceptionally well. And around the world, they have different strategies. Around the world, they have different chemicals. And I'm excited to basically take all of these and put them into a big pot and see what I can come up with at the end. See if I can't take the best from a little bit of everywhere and just create some kind of Uber, you know, Uber strategy to come at the end of it. So I'm genuinely really excited about this. And as for my position on the podcast, we've discussed this before. I spoke to the UK BSF's UK PR and marketing teams, and they were like, "Sounds good to me." I spoke to the UK sales teams, which of course is Lawrence, and he was like, "Sounds good to me." I spoke to Sharon, and she was like, "I'm leaving. Sounds good to me." And then I spoke to who's going to be my boss, and she's like, "I will speak to HR." And I never heard back. So until we hear otherwise, as far as I'm concerned, we're good. So long as you guys don't ask me really sort of like impertinent questions or things like that, and so long as I keep myself in line, long may this continue until we're told otherwise. So there we go.
Yeah, good, good. Well, there we go. But on that, why don't we get our guest on this week, Mr. Taylor, Sean from the Forces Group. A lot of people may have heard of Sean, but probably haven't met him or heard him talk from a pest control point of view or a business point of view. And I certainly have. And he's a very interesting chap, a non-pest control pest controller. Do you know what it is? I've got a potential customer, ringing us at 7:10 on a Friday night. They've rang us 3 times, to which I've replied with a message, and they are just going to keep ringing and ringing and ringing until hopefully I answer the phone, which I'm not going to do. I've even sent them a one saying, I'm in a podcast, I can't talk for an hour or so. and it's just going to keep going and going and going. You know, like I don't know what to do, but there we go. But I won't
Guys,
answer it for
very
you.
quickly. Should Sean pass up the opportunity for work just to entertain you guys? Yes, no? Does he deserve? Get the customer on the show.
Yeah. Yeah. This is it where they come and ask to join in, isn't it? And it's like, oh yeah. So we'll see. Right, let's get him on. Without further ado, here he is, the man, the myth, the
Hi,
legend.
gents.
Mr. Taylor. How are you?
I like that, Sean, the legend. You can
Man, the
introduce
myth,
me
the legend.
anytime.
Yeah.
Can I just
tell
say you look a lot older on the podcast than when I met you for real. You're much younger in real, for real.
Alex. Are you talking about
Oh,
Alex?
you.
Oh,
At
right.
Pestex.
Yeah.
I never recognised you at Pestex because you're actually much younger than you come across.
Ah, yeah. I
Must
tell you the one thing I didn't realise about you is how tall you are. You're about 6'3" or something, aren't you?
I'll take that. Legend and 6'3", yeah. Just under 6'3".
You're
Six
tall. I'm
6'1". 6'1".
No, I'm 6 foot and you're considerably taller than me, aren't you?
No, I'm definitely 6'1", but
Oh,
yeah,
right,
Human
right.
heels and the lifts that give him the extra couple of inches. That's
don't
what it
worry.
is.
I look the same. I look same on video. So yeah. Just I know we're on a red kite. Literally just flew past the window. Literally dived down. Not just actually just before I came on. So if anything goes down below, we've got so many red kites here. It's ridiculous. They kind of dive down into the garden. It's amazing.
When they,
I've got to say, bit of bromidine, like sort them out.
No,
that was. You can't say that because there's literally an article came out just this week, wasn't there, where a gamekeeper had been prosecuted once again for the poisoning of birds of prey, using, I think it was chlorpyrifos and bromidilone. So yeah.
Oh, was it?
Yes,
Right.
I thought that's what you were referencing there. Oh, okay. So you were just being an ass. Fine.
Yeah,
fair enough.
just being a greedy ass. Yeah, just being a prick. Yeah, I do it all the time.
Terrible.
Yeah.
I said the biggest problem we've had with our back garden is I've got a kiddies football net and the kite flew into the net and got trapped. My wife had to go out and free it. Like, how do you free up a red kite from a net like that? It's like, whoa, yeah, proper. And then about 6 months later, a munkjack got caught in it. So 4 a.m, I'm out there in my underwear, throwing a towel over the head of a munkjack, trying to cut a munkjack out of a bloody football net. Anyway, sorry, we digress. Sorry, chaps.
We'll digress, but I'm going to take that digression and run with it because that's very similar to. I have a similar story. So I used to live on a farm, actually in a converted tech house. So the stables underneath us were still functioning. The farm had a lot of sheep, and this tech house was so hot because it was just in the roof of the building in an attic. So it'd sleep with all the windows open. And one night, all we can hear is this, lamb screaming, like absolutely sort of like, when lambs scream, they really sort of like go for it. And I stick my head out, and what's happened is this little lamb has stuck its head through the fence, and where it's got the little sort of like buds for its horns, is stuck it through the fence. And of course, it can't get back. So of course, it's got its head stuck in there, and it's screaming for its mum. It's screaming and screaming and screaming. So I can't put up with this all night. So I marched down, across the earth, across the field to this fence, in my underwear because it's the middle of the night. Grab hold of this little, lamb's head, feed it back through the fence, go back upstairs. No word of a lie. 5 minutes later, screaming noise coming from outside. Look out the window. Same lamb, same hole. I'm like, what is your problem? March back downstairs, grab hold of this thing's head, feed it back through the fence. Take 2 steps away, and I hear this, and I turn around, and of course, it's stuck its head through the hole again. I was like, you're having a laugh, you little shit. Get its head, push it back through, stare at it, and it takes 1 step towards the fence. I was like, I'm not having any of this. Absolutely not having any of this. Vault the fence in my pants, and run at this sheep, screaming, chasing it away from the fence. And I'm running across the field screaming at it. Finally, it runs away, and I turn around and I look back at the farmhouse where the actual, thanks, Neil, where the actual farmer lived in the farmhouse next to us. And she's literally stood by the window looking at me, like in this field with her sheep in her pants. And I was like, this is awkward. Wait, just walk back inside.
Remember, all she's seen is you in the pants and a screaming sheep. That's all she's heard. You in pants and a screaming sheep.
Exactly that. She never asked. I never spoke about it. And that was that. I lived there for for another year and then moved into my real house. And there we go.
No,
So yes,
fantastic.
there we go. So before we continue telling stories about livestock and underwear, tell us a little bit, because Sean and I, we both know you, but many of the folks listening to this, of course, won't have done. So tell us a little bit about you, not about the Forces Group. Tell us a little bit about you. Where did it all start with you?
Me. So I was brought up in Croydon, comprehensive school, went through normal education, never went to university, and answered a tiny little advert in a paper when I was 18 and ended up working in the diamond industry at the age of 18 in just outside Hatton Garden. Worked for, it was effectively De Beers. If anyone knows about the diamond industry, De Beers ran the diamond industry in those days. So bizarre, from leaving college, went and worked in the diamond industry and was literally handling diamonds every day. It's the most bizarre job you've ever had to do. I had to kind of check in diamonds and check them out. Anyway, I kind of got bored of that, left and studied to become a qualified accountant, got back into the diamond trade, went out to Africa for 10 years, buying and selling diamonds behind the scenes. I wasn't the buyer. And then bizarrely enough, came back to the UK, having got married and had kids, and got into the facilities management sector. So I've got this real roller coaster of getting into diamonds, leaving diamonds, becoming a trained accountant, going back into diamonds, going out to Africa. And out of all of that, I then joined the cleaning industry and the facilities management. And that's what kind of got me into this sector. I worked in big corporates, worked for PLCs, worked in smaller businesses, and worked as an FD for many companies with some really quite inspirational people. And then decided I want to do this myself. I was number two to everybody, so an opportunity came along. You probably have heard of OCS. OCS was just being bought out by the person that ran Servest. Basically, I worked for Servest years ago. Anyway, they were selling a company. I bought it in 2010. Excuse me. Contract cleaning business with a franchise model, and quite like the idea of running my own business. So I bought it, moved it back, grew it. We grew it from sort of 3 million to 9 million over a short period of time, and really introduced me to that franchise model. Owner managers, working together for the greater good. I mean, there's lots of analogies you can give. And in the same time as running that cleaning business, we said, right, we've done well with with one franchise business. Are there other services that we can add to the cleaning business? And pest control was kind of an obvious one. So we started talking to a few pest control companies, and Pestforce came about. I know that it's been around many, many years. The previous owner, I don't know, did you ever bump into Paul Wilkinson, the previous owner, Alex?
I don't believe I did. I may have done, because of course my history with you guys goes all the way back to Church Farm, really, doesn't it? So 2015.
Right, okay.
So if he was around then yes, but I think prior to 2015, Pelgar had me locked in a very small dark cupboard somewhere, testing on insects. I didn't really know many people back then. So no, I don't think I met him. No.
Right, okay. Well, he's the previous owner, and he'd set up this. He was a gamekeeper turned pest controller. Just decided he'd done well with pest control. I'll set it up as a franchise.
I did meet him. Sorry, I remember.
Yeah, a real charismatic character, but probably didn't know how to run a franchise business. The business outgrew him very quickly. So we brought that into the fold. We basically had bought a franchise business previously, a disenfranchised franchise unit. Did that with cleaning. We thought we'd do it again with pest control. We met a whole different set of circumstances when we bought Pestforce, and Pestforce came with a couple of other sister brands. So we went through a number of years of quite hard times, not hard times, but re-establishing what the Pestforce brand was going to be all about. And then over so we bought it 2014. So from about 2017 onwards, we've really kind of focused on that model and grown it. And yeah, it's a completely different company to what it was when we first bought it. And, we're very proud of what we've done. Everyone has a different view on it. Is franchising a good model or not? I love the franchise model because, I'm not saying an employee model isn't any good. I just love that extra bit that people have got skin in the game. And that adds a nice little incentive. And I think in the current pest control world, you know, employment, staffing is one of the biggest and hardest things that challenges any company. So we're lucky in some ways. A lot of our franchisees are one-man bands, but certainly over the last 3 or 4 years, we've seen more people go through the employment model as well. So they now are taking on technicians, and we're growing. And and I just love the journey. I love the journey. I was just before we went live, we're just saying, if you enjoy what you do, it's not really like work, is it? I thoroughly enjoy working with people. You know, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I enjoy it all. And that takes me to where we are today. So we've got the 3 brands: Pestforce, Lockforce, and Washforce, and they're all growing. There's challenges as always, but it's good fun. Always good fun. And I've loved pest control. Having been involved in different industries, I have found pest control so interesting. So interesting. I'm not a technical to answer them, but I love understanding more about what's involved with pest control. And that's how I got to meet Mr. Mooney.
That's how Mr. Mooney. I was about to say, I mean, we're going to cycle back to the, you know, your 3 divisions in a bit, because actually I think that's something that probably a lot of people don't quite realize. But to actually sort of like build on that thing that you said just there, which is you enjoy the work, and when you enjoy the work, it can be dangerous that, you know, you don't end up feeling like you need to take a break, because if you enjoy what you do, then it's not really a hardship. And the weird thing is I've spoken to so many pest managers who work and work and work, and you're like, God, mate, you've got to take a break, you've got to go and take a holiday soon. And I'm like, well, why? You know, I actually going out to enjoy it. It seems to be almost a running theme that pest management's one of those that's so engaging. It's so there's so many challenges, there's so many puzzles to solve, that so many people just are of the same mindset that, you know, I work late not because I have to, but because I want to sort of like want to get that little bit done. I want to get that sort of like, I want to solve that piece of the puzzle. It's that reward to it, isn't it? And it's quite nice. And as you say, I don't think there's many other industries out there that are. I can't imagine someone working in an office for a landscape design company who is going to want to sit there and voluntarily work later because of the thrill of filling out a spreadsheet. At the end of the day,
I can assure you, I've done that many times. Being an accountant, I can assure you. But it comes back down to whether you have a job that you enjoy or you don't. And so many. What always surprises me, and this is what we see with people coming into to join us, is they have a job, some of them really well paid, but they freaking hate it, and they're making the change to join a franchise or to start a new business because they don't enjoy getting up in the morning. You know, the amount of franchisees that have joined us and say, I now enjoy getting up in the morning. But what is life if you don't enjoy what you do? What's the point?
Exactly.
Some people don't get the choice, but you can make that choice, and that's what franchising does offer people. But it's not for everybody. You know, we're very clear that, you know, the model of franchising is not for everybody. You know, it's interesting chatting to Sean, who knows one of our franchisees, and just seeing how he looks at the model and things like that.
Well, we'll break down into that a little bit more, because actually the whole concept of franchising is a fascinating business model at the end of the day. And as I was saying to you just off the air, there's so many pest managers out there who are phenomenal at the doing aspect of pest control. Go out there, here is a problem, solve the problem, great. But what they struggle with, either emotionally or through sort of like discipline or for a whole number of reasons, is the business aspect at the back. It's raising the invoices, it's getting your T's and C's out, it's getting all of your policies in place, it's chasing down leads, it's doing all of these things. That is the hard bit. That's the bit they struggle. That's the bit they don't enjoy. They went out to learn to do, you know, to have a hands-on job and do something, and yet they have this millstone around their neck, which is ironically the company that is meant to be supporting them. So actually, you know, the concept of a franchise model where you can do the thing that you love and have the support network of the people who can do these things behind is great. And I think probably a lot of people haven't considered joining a franchise simply because they feel, you know, for you know, people in the comments, you know, mention why you wouldn't do it. But to my mind, it's having your cake and eating it in some instances, isn't it?
It is, but the big thing and the big obstacle is always pound, shillings and pence. People understand the value of a pound going out of the bank account. They don't necessarily understand the value coming back in. It's a bit like selling a pest control job. You know, how much is that? You know, and we get the same on us, and it's trying to explain the value. And sometimes you can only explain the value once they get on board. So, but we have a very detailed process. You know, we don't want to just drag people in and say it's great. We want to really understand the motives, and as much as we're there to support, we're very clear also that we need people with the drive to do it as well. It's not just, you're not buying a job. There are some franchises that you are buying a job. You turn up, yes, it's your business, but you get told what to do, when to go and do it. And we're looking very much for a sort of a codependency arrangement, but everyone's different. You know, as I say, everything's different, but we like that support aspect, and the people that get it, and the people that don't get it. We advertise a lot through Facebook, which a lot of people might see, and we get a lot of comments. And am I allowed to use profanity on this? I think Sean uses it all the time.
Fucking absolutely not. No, yeah, go for it.
It's like, you know, you get comments like "fucking rip off," and just like, and I used to just get really annoyed by these comments, and then now I go back and have a conversation with them. You know, well, what do you mean by fucking rip off? You know, but people understand the value going out the bank. They don't always understand the value coming in, and that's always that's what we've got to try and get across to people.
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you a little bit of a story. So the first time I met you guys, I mean, there's two things struck me. So you used to not come and do your full sort of like level 2 training down at Church Farm, the wonderful, the mythical Church Farm. But I think you wouldn't. It was brilliant.
Bring that back, Alex. Bring it back. We loved
it. It is on the cards. I am trying to twist arms and, you know, rub shoulders and generally just force people into bringing it back. So watch this space. There will be a Church Farm in the next 5 years, by hook or by crook. Don't you worry. But when you used to come down, I mean, the first thing that struck me was you'd give all of your prospective starters this wonderful brochure, which was all sort of like really well set out. I don't know if you remember it, but it was so well set out. It literally was, each brochure was like an onboarding program. There was no ambiguity. It was like, right, and it had 6 leaves in it, which were all sort of like staggered in different colors. And you pick up the first one and like, right, this is where you start. This is, and bare bones, this is what, you know, we expect of you, and this is what you expect of us, and there we go. And the next one is, you know, this is where we do this, and this is where you get your training from, and this is where you do this, and this is the aftercare. And it was a whole thing, and it was so well done. I was like, I want to join. Yeah, I've never, and to this day, I've actually never seen a brochure so effective as a sales pitch before. It was really sort of like, and this it's probably just me because I like brochures. I like literature and bits of things I can do with that, and they always, to this day, stuck with me. But with that, I also, and you know, cut me off if this is just rude, but what you used to do is you used to get all of your sort of like your newbies down, you know, all the people who were looking. So the point of bringing them down to Church Farm wasn't necessarily to give them training. It was to give them a little bit of, you know, exposure to what it is to be in the pest management industry, because we had all the bugs down there, we had all the rats down there, we had all the mice down there, and I'd sit at the front and I'd give a bit of a lecture about what pest management is. And then we would chuck them all into the rat pens. You know, everyone gets their boots on, everyone gets their gloves on, everyone gets your overalls on, your hard hat, and you chuck them into the rat pens, and you could instantly see those who were going to make good pest managers and those who were probably not, because you chuck them into the rat pens, and some of them were like, yes, look at this, look at that, look at this, you know, and you had to be like, come on, man, curb your enthusiasm. These are wild rats. Don't pick them up. You know, don't chase them. Don't lift it up. And then there was others who were literally, you could see them on like literally like the floors over, on tiptoes, side to side to side, half scaling up out of the arena, and you're like, if you can't manage this, you are going to be on the old struggle bus when it comes to sort of like being knee deep in mud on a rainy, wet December afternoon, you know, checking boxes and looking for rats. And so that's what I used to, and it would be you and Gail and you know, others stood the other side of the great big glass window being like, he's doing well.
I came in. I remember the smell of that rat farm, but we do it for, and this might sound really dry. We really try and put people off joining us. Like if you tell them all the good things that can happen, we've got loads of fantastic stories. They go, oh, this is brilliant. I can be on the beach. And no, you have to work freaking hard to make this work. And you have to just put yourself, roll your sleeves up. And people don't believe us, but we genuinely, you put all the obstacles in the way. The people that jump over them are the ones that you want. The ones that kind of fall at the first hurdle, piss off. It's not for you. And that might sound really strange, but it's the way. It's also what I do with sales today, like actually selling into national accounts. I want you to jump over some hurdles, and it might sound really pretentious, but it's there for a reason. Because we all dance to the tap of the drum, don't we? And we don't want to do that. So we always try and set ourselves apart, Alex. And I would love to get back to the rat farm. Gail would, if I rang Gail today and said we could go back to the rat farm, she'd be over the moon. And you have to remember, I'm 55, nearly 60, well, nearer 60 than 50 now. So 5 years, I'm going to have some real grey hair.
I'll make sure there's an accessible ramp at the front. We can wheel you in.
Thanks for that. That's very appreciative.
Sorry.
I've had an idea, and it's just come to us. T's Pest Quest, just down the road from us, has put a point on. He says people don't understand the costs involved in a business. They only see your time that you're there and think that's all they're paying for. Get it? If anyone has any points on things like this, put them in. And instead of pest controllers, me and Alex telling you what we think, now having Sean, who is a business person rather than a pest controller, if you imagine he's one of your franchisees who comes to you and says this, your franchisee's come to you, he's having a bit of a whinge, and he says that they've got no idea. Like, what do you say to your franchisee? What advice would you give to someone who comes to you and starts saying things like that to them?
So you're talking to me, Sean. So a franchisee comes to me, and just rephrase what you want me to talk.
And see this question that T's Pest Quest's put on. He starts making statements, or he makes that statement to you. He says, "Oh, Sean, the problem I'm having at the minute in Pestforce T side, which would be me. Imagine I'm and I say to you, problem is people don't understand the costs. They think I'm too expensive because they're only paying. They think I'm only paying for the time that I'm there. Like, what advice would you give us to that?"
Okay, so this comes back to a major part of business generally, and this is what I call you talk about mindset. This is mindset, and you come out of paid employment and start your own business and start working out. We come out of paid employment and we think £20 an hour, £25 an hour. I can't go more than that. What we do with the franchises, we sit down in the first week, second week, one of the two. We train over 3 weeks, and we make them list out, right, what salary do you want to earn? What do you want to take out of this business? Just come up with a reasonable salary. Put your tax on top of it. Put your marketing, put your product, put that. Add that all up. Right. Okay. Now divide it by the number of weeks a year you want to work. Okay. Well, let's say 48 weeks. And how many jobs do you think you can fit in a week? And they come out with a number that they fall off their chair. Like, I've got to charge 60, 70 pound an hour, potentially, depending on everyone's different. So we let them work this out. And we go through this thing. We talk to people, go out there in your first 6 months and earn and learn. I don't care what you charge in the first 6 months. I do, but I'm kind of saying just get out there and see it for real, touch it, feel it, experience it. And what happens is people learn and evolve. So people start in that earning and learning phase, just kind of doing it, a little bit of mistake making, if you like, undersell themselves. But what they do, they learn. And what happens is over the period of 2, 3, 4 years, they learn their value, and they also learn how to talk to customers to stop letting it be all about the price. And the thing that leads me to frustration always is when you talk to our franchisees and they say, "Oh, Sean, you don't understand. It's all about the price." The first question I get from everybody, I say, "Well, why is that?" Because the first question I'll get is, "How much is it?" Okay, and I say to them, "That's great. So why is it all about the price?" Because that's the question they've asked. And then I say to them, "But what else would they ask you?" And they go, "I don't know." The question they ask is, "How much is it?" Because they don't know what else to ask. So now your job is, as a pest controller and a professional pest controller, start asking questions to understand the picture and turn this all away from price and show that you care about what you do. You want to solve the problem. And I'm not saying it works all the time, but it's little things, and you get back to what support can we give people. It's the mindset, the psychology that so many people that run their own business never go through. They just follow what their dad showed them or what their granddad showed them, and it doesn't always work. And I'm not poo-pooing anything. People have their own different ways, but we kind of are just we're privileged. I see 100 different businesses operate, and we can pick the best bits of everything that we see. I go to different webinars, web seminars. I experience it myself, and we put the best kind of psychology and process in place. So it's mindset is the key thing. Mindset. If you don't think you're worth it, you'll never sell it. And this is how franchisees start off selling. How much is it to do rodents? Well, 120. They respond as if it's a question. Like, they don't just say, well, this is how you do it. It's a 3-part treatment. We charge this. We come and attend the first visit. We do a survey. We'll tell you what's required. We want payment at the end of that. We book in the next 2 visits. When it flows like that, customers just go, oh, right, that's what happens. So I'm conscious I talk too much sometimes, but does that answer your question?
Keep going. No, yeah, exactly. Do you know, me and Dale will be watching this. We've just had this conversation. I was talking to him today, and he said, I know what I need to do. Don't get us wrong, Dale's phenomenal, like phenomenal as well. And I'm not just saying that because I'd never blow smoke up people's arses. I just tell you as it is, and he's phenomenal. But he said to us today, he said, I know what I need to work on. I said, what's that? He said, I need to be more confident. I was like, what do you mean? He said, well, I just need to have more confidence in what I'm saying to them. I said, Dale, it's dead easy. It's not about confidence. It's not about this. It's not about that. What you're allowing them to do is you're allowing them to transfer their problem onto you. You are not the problem. You are the solution. And as soon as you change the mindset and you say, what's the problem? Oh, well, we've got rats. And as you say, Rent a Kill, part of their survey, one of their first questions they ask you is, what's your biggest concern regarding this problem? And I say to Dale, once you pick up on this, what's your biggest concern? I don't want my kids getting ill. I don't want an electrical fire. I don't want my food contaminated. I don't want to feel dirty. I don't want this. I don't want to be woken up in the middle of the night. Once you realize that you've got the one solution to every single one of them things that customer is experiencing, then all of a sudden you understand your value, because they're not paying you to get rid of rats. They're paying you to feel clean. They're paying you to stop the missus watching. They're paying you for all that. And then once you get it, so as soon as when they say it's about price, what they're doing, in my opinion, what they're doing is they're allowing the customer to transfer the problem onto you. I have rats. It's your problem for you to solve. No. You are Malcolm. He comes out with the best saying I've ever heard in my life, and it works on every occasion. When a customer starts going, but I'm not really, and do you really think it's the drains? And I'm not sure it's the drains. His reply is, don't worry, I'll go home to my rat-free home. And I was like, ooh. And he went, every time they go, yeah, you're right. He's the bloke without the rats, and I'm the bloke with the rats. Please come and
it's being prepared to say the ball. It's being prepared to ask the ballsy and say the ballsy. Sometimes we all follow the same, and that's what we kind of have to drive out of. And I don't, no disrespect to anyone, pest controllers are brilliant at pest control, but that doesn't make you a successful business, because unless you can generate leads and convert the calls at the right price, it doesn't matter how good you are at pest control. And I'm pleased, we want our guys to be the best pest controllers out. We want you to be experts. But to run a successful business, you've got to go up the chain, go right to the top. You know, I've been training this week with a new franchisee, and we go through it literally like piece by piece by piece by piece, and their eyes open up. And you have to think about this: it's a new franchisee learning a skill and being told how to run a business. And yes, we do a lot of it, but we don't do it in isolation. So you can see their heads just kind of explode. But again, like anything, when you don't know it, it's difficult. After a period of time, you learn it. Driving a car, first time you get in a car, it's really complicated. But after a while, you get to drive it. It's really easy. But again, it's repeat. But I'll tell you how much mindset affects price. So when I talk, some of the stories I'll give you, they're not just pest control. They are maybe the locksmith service we do, or the cleaning service, but it all applies the same. Someone had been in one of our services for 10 years and joined us. So he was an independent business and joined us. We went through all the normal training. Don't care that you've been in business 10 years. Let's go through all the training. And the one advice I gave him at the end of it was, to improve your business, you need to put up your price. He goes, I can't do that. Can't do that. He said, my pricing is, I'll be too expensive. I said, put your price up. He said, I can't do it. I said, fine, look, my advice, you can take it. Go away a month later. How are you doing, Dave? Yeah, great. If you put your price up, no, I haven't. And eventually, after about 6 months, he rang me and said, Sean, I've put my prices up. And I said, and what's happened? He goes, well, nothing. They keep buying. I keep getting the work. So for 10 years, mate, you've been underpricing yourself. I don't want to rub this in, but you take the leap, and the time that people eventually make the decision is when they hit the low point. They go, fuck it, I'm just going to do it because everyone keeps telling me to do it, so I'm going to do it. And believe it or not, all that belief they had that they won't take it, it's too expensive, goes out the window by taking action, seeing the result and go, oh, fuck me, I can put my price up. VAT, how many pest controllers reach the VAT threshold and say, I can't go any further because customers can't pay that 20%? They freaking can, and they will. And what really pisses you off, you could have been charging an extra 20% without being VAT registered. Anyway, look, it's the fascinating world of business, and that's why I love it so much, because someone said to me, business is a numbers game played by a team. You've got to know your numbers. You've got to understand how it all works. You do need to know your trade, but that doesn't drive a successful business.
And just to hammer home the point about cost and value and putting your prices up, I always like to say, so if you go onto Amazon, you want to go and buy a hole punch, for example, you go and buy a hole punch from Amazon, and you'll see there'll be a hole range. You type in Amazon hole punch, and there'll be a couple of hole punches there for $3.99 and a couple for $7.99 and a couple for $14.99, and you sit there and you think, oh right, and they've all got the same picture. They've obviously come out of the same Temu factory somewhere out in the Far East Asia. But with that, even though looking at them, you're like, these are all the same hole punch. You don't buy the $3.99 one because you'd be like, there's something wrong with this. There's got to be something wrong with this hole punch. It doesn't work. You know what? I'm going to buy the $7.99. I'm not going to buy the $14.99 one. That's silly, but I'll buy the $7.99 one. Absolutely. So you pay twice as much for the same hole punch because there is a perception that value, if you buy, you pay for what you get, don't you, at the end of the day? And so if someone's there and it's, you equate value of service to what you pay for. So you buy the $7.99 hole punch, knowing at the back of your mind it's exactly the same as the $3.99 hole punch, but you do it willingly because you believe that it's going to be a better hole punch. It's the same, and it's the same concept, really, isn't it?
Tell you the other reason why you buy it at $7.99, because you have the belief that if something goes wrong with a hole punch, the firm at $7.99 are likely to solve it. The firm at $3.99 are likely to ghost you.
Yeah.
It's a safe pair of hands, isn't it?
There is that. But also, when people are going through, look, a lot of it depends on who we're talking to, but a lot of the sales that we do is on the phone, isn't it? A phone call, got a problem, but we so many people deal with it as a commodity. We kind of deal with it. The pest control side, deal as if we're a commodity. How much is it to fix rats? I'll just tell you the answer and we'll move on. And it was interesting, Sean, because you mentioned this on the last call. And I'll pick up on you a little bit where you say, I can get rid of someone within 15, 20 seconds, so I don't pay the Google guaranteed stuff. And I kind of get it, and I'm not saying that that's not true, but people say to me, they say they were never going to buy. And I say they weren't ready to buy. Doesn't mean they weren't going to buy, they weren't ready to buy. And we sometimes forget that some people will just be a little bit more picky about who they choose. But we turn everything, how much is it for rats? It's this. Don't answer a question with a direct response, because you've turned it into a commodity. I might as well tapped into Google, how much is it for rats? And I'll just choose from a price list. Engage with the customer, bring the emotion into it. Suddenly you've got a different conversation going on. Different conversation. Does that make sense?
It does. And I like that statement that you just made there. And I'm not sure people picked up on it. I hope they did, which is don't reply to a question with a direct response for a closed answer, because of course you're right, that closes a conversation down, doesn't it? If you give a closed answer or you ask a question which is only going to be a yes or no, it doesn't keep that flow of conversation going. It kind of like there's a pause in that language, isn't there? And it kind of like stops it. So what would you recommend, when you say that, don't give a direct answer, how is best to phrase that? Not to give away company secrets or anything, but, just give us a little bit of wisdom there. How would that look?
We've got no secrets. We not got some secret source that makes it happen. It's, you know, we have. I have this saying: it's not what you do, it's the way you do it. It's not what you say. So at the end of the day, if someone asks a question, at some point you have to answer it, because otherwise you're evading it and they become suspicious. We talk about someone's got to begin to get to know you, like you, and trust you, because they're going to bring you into their house. So when you talk about what sort of they want to get rid of the rats, but there's other things playing on their minds, like who's going to come into my property? Are they going to look after me? You know, are they going to put poisons in the right place? Are they going to do everything right? So we talk about, well, how can you answer that question? How much is it for rats? Well, we say, well, look, so I can understand your problem a bit better, could you tell me a little bit more? How long has it been going? And we have a kind of a series of questions. So you try and pull a little bit more information out of the customer. Have you got dogs? We try and bring things into it the customer maybe hasn't thought about. So when we answer the question, we can answer it more realistically, I suppose is the way. Because one of our guys fell into the trap of phone call from a lady. I've got mice in my weekend bolt hole. Can you get along and see it? How much will it be? He said, yeah, no problem. I'll go along tomorrow. It's a 3-part treatment and it's, let's say, £200. I'm just saying numbers. So he pulls up to the weekend bolt hole. And as he enters third gear going up the driveway, he's realizing this is, goes past the bell tower and he turns up in this great big estate. He's thinking, shitting hell, I've got and it just shows you that if you don't know what exactly you're looking at, you need to ask more questions. And then you can give a customer, look, from what you've explained to me, typically, this is how we're going to deal with it. However, let me come and see your place. Let me have a look at it and survey it, and then we can tell you exactly what we can do. Because it's more realistic than just saying, I know exactly what's going to happen. I know exactly what I need to do. Because although you probably do, you're better off following this process. What does the customer, you can take the customer on this journey. It's not a wham, bam, thank you, man. It's a journey. Take them on the journey. They may be really scared about inviting Sean with no hair into their house. He looks a scary man. I need to get some confidence that he's a nice guy and he's got kids and he looks up. It's a journey. Every customer's different though. But all I say, you have to answer the question. You can decide when you answer it. When you answer it, and we're very keen that we don't just answer that question. How much is it? Because it's a commodity. It's gone.
We should do
and there's so much more to pest control.
Because obviously I do it totally different. We should do a role play, shouldn't we, where you pretend to be the customer and answer the phone to you, and then you can tell us what I do good and bad.
God, bloody hell, boys.
I think we should.
No, let's do this. Come on.
How shit I am on the phone. I don't mind.
Right,
honestly, I don't.
Right, so what we'll do is I'll pretend to be the customer here, and I'll phone you up, Sean, and Sean, give us your critique on how you think Sean's technique is.
This was never the understanding. Carry on. Let's go. Let's see what I can do for you.
Yeah.
Bring.
Hi, Caroline Pest Control. Sean speaking. How can we help you?
Yeah, I was just doing a bit of a sort of like a ring round looking for some quotes. I've got a bit of an issue with some rats in my house actually. I was wondering if you could give me a little bit of advice, potentially, come and help sort them out.
Yeah, absolutely. We can certainly do that. We deal with rats on a daily basis. It costs £252 for a 3-part treatment. That means we'll visit your house 3 times. We'll come every 7 to 14 days, depending on what we do. We'll probably use traps or poison or a mixture of both. And as due part of that process, we'll have a look at why the rats are trying to get into your property. It'll probably be either above ground or below ground, but the lads will be able to give you a very good idea on how to stop or minimize that from happening again, because obviously that's the important part, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I mean, I think they're coming from the neighbour's garden more than anything else. How's that going to affect what's going on? Because I'm sure they're not in my garden.
Truthfully, without seeing it, it's absolutely impossible to say. But what I can tell you is the lads will do a good investigation, and if it is coming from your neighbours, they'll be able to give you the advice that you need in how to deal with that problem, whether it's contacting the council or even knocking on the door and speaking to the neighbours themselves.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to speak to my husband about the price.
Yeah.
The dreaded think it over. The dreaded think it over.
How many times? Sorry, I was tongue in cheek, but how many times have we all heard that? I'm just going to speak to my partner and make sure that price is acceptable, which is universal code for no, thank you. I'm too polite to say no.
So what's really interesting, if someone does ever say think it over, and this is a kind of a brass balls moment, if they, I just need to run it past my husband, a really good question is, do you mind me asking what you need to run past your husband? Because what I want to understand, have I not explained something properly to you? Because that sometimes can stop them in their tracks and go, actually, nothing. Get me in. So it's sometimes those brass ball moments. But anyway, so do you want me to critique that really quickly?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Don't tell us what I did good, because that's pointless. Tell us what I did bad. Tell us what
because
I could
there was
do better.
nothing good in that. Nothing.
So, in a very, being very, very short about it, there is too much talking from your side, Sean, not engaging enough with the customer. So, yes, you have got, and this is, we see all this, you've got this list and all this knowledge. You've got all this knowledge, and our guys do exactly the same. I want to impart this knowledge to show you that I'm going to be the credible pest controller. But what we say is, customers don't care how much you know. They want to know how much you care. So a customer ringing up saying, I've got mice, I want more information. It's taking away what you said, which is a takeaway from this, is when the red to kill guys just says, what is of the area of concern that you have? Because you're getting into their psyche. What you've done is what I call show up and throw up. I've just given you, look, and I know, and I'm not saying it's wrong or right. I'm just saying, for me, I want to get Alex talking, and I want him to start feeling like, oh my God, Sean he's thinking about everything. He thinks, oh yeah, how long has it been going on for Alex? What sort of concerns do you have? Have you had a pest control before? Have you done it yourself? There's various questions that you could eke out of him to suddenly get a completely different perception. Have you got pests? I mean, have you got young children? Have you got pets? All these are little questions that allow you to think, Alex, to think, my God, Sean just cares about delivering the best service for me. And we honestly say, let me understand more about the situation, and let me tell you if I think I can help you. There's no, I can definitely help you. It's if I understand more, I can tell you if I think I can help, and then we can decide if we go to the next stage. You're keeping Alex in control of the conversations. So Alex, lovely to hear from you. Thanks so much for calling. Understand you've got a problem with mice. Can I just ask a few more questions, Alex? First thing I'd ask, can I ask a few more questions, Alex? What's Alex going to say?
Oh, yeah, sure. Ask away. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So, Alex, I'm just going to ask a few questions just to get a better understanding of the situation. So, I'm going to ask a question. How long has it been going on, Alex? Tell me a little bit more.
We used to see sort of like 1 and 2, going on, for forever, really. But it's only been over the last 2 or 3 months that it's really started to ramp up, and we've started to see them during the day more than anything else. So I only think there's a handful of them.
Wow. So it's been going on for a long time. So you're saying it's been going on a long time, but it's got worse. Is that what you're telling me?
That seems to be the case. Yes.
And have you had anyone out before?
We spoke to the local council, and they sent someone round, but didn't really seem to solve. So that's unfair. I'm sorry, local councils. It's just an easy one. But yeah, we had the local council round, and they sent a guy round, and he put something down outside in a couple of boxes, and it got better for a bit, but then it just got back to being as it has been.
Wow. So you've had people, and it's still not resolved.
It seems that way, and it's getting worse. And I'm a bit concerned because I'm going to be bringing the grandkids round this weekend, and I'm a bit worried about them playing in the garden. I don't want to get bitten.
Fully understand that. So Alex, what I could probably recommend is let us book you in, come and see you tomorrow, Thursday, whatever the day is. Let us come and assess the situation. We'll tell you what we can do. If it is what we think it is, it's probably going to be a 3-part rodent treatment, and then you can do the little bit. You don't want to do too much, because what you want to do is get in front of the customer to finish the sale off. That's what we believe. Now, I know some people won't agree with that, but our view is, if you take the look at the psychology of a customer journey, getting him to invite you into his property is a major buying signal, in my opinion. It's not everyone's view, because you can go and do journeys and waste time and everything. But our view is get in front of the customer, finish the sale, and while you're there, move on, do your first part treatment, take your money, move on to the next stage. But just be careful. Customers want to know how much you care. They don't care how much you know. You can impart your knowledge once you're in front of him and you're starting to engage with them. But don't try and throw up, and don't turn up and throw up, because people don't listen. Once you started talking, Sean, apart from the first little bit, once you went on, and you may have been doing it a little bit more quickly because of it was a role play, I stopped listening. I stopped listening.
Yeah. I tell you why I've ended up in that position. And this is what the guys in Pestforce, I know the ones I've spoke to don't understand the value that they get, because when you start off on your own, you have to figure it out on your own. There's no one to ask. And the reason why I've ended up in that position is because over the years of answering the phone to people, I know when it'll go right and wrong, and I know maybe, and I'm more than happy to examine that I'm potentially wrong, probably wrong on this. But the amount of people in my early days where they'd be like, "Oh, can you come and have a look at my rat problem for us? I've got a rat problem here." It just sets alarm bells in my head. Now they'll go, "I've got a rat problem here. I was wondering if you could get someone to come out and have a look at us." And then you go there and they wouldn't buy. They'd be like, "All right, yeah, well, I'll run it past my husband." And you'd think, "Fucking hell, I've done 4 of these today."
Yeah,
like
you're right. Look, Sean,
earning, but it may be that I wasn't closing it properly when I was there as well. So you've got to be. I think one of the things in business to make it successful is you have to understand that 9 times out of 10 you are the problem, don't you? And that's why I done that, because I wanted to know exactly what you would say.
Sure, you're better than that, but I'm just you might. But so what we talk about, and there is no magic wand or thing I can say that will magic or something to someone to definitely say yes. We just accept that. You're not, at the end of the day, some buyers are liars. They just won't tell you the truth anyway. Just have to accept it, but keep your ears open. So we talk about, you want to keep in control of the conversation, but the buyer wants to keep control of the conversation because they're the ones spending the money. So when I say to Alex, do you mind me asking some questions, and then I can tell you what I can do, I've told him what I want to happen, but I've sought his permission to do it. So he feels he's still in control of the conversation, but I've basically taken the control of it to say, this is what I'm going to do. And if I think I can help you, let's get you booked in. Is that okay, Alex? Does that sound okay? Of course it does. So now I'm going to ask questions, which is what I was expecting. So the trust grows because I'm doing exactly what I said I was going to do. And I don't say I'm definitely going to help you. So I can think I can help you. Let's get you booked in. And at the right point, once you've asked enough questions, right, Alex has called. I quite like the sound of him as a customer. There is an element of that bonding and rapport and mirroring. He's definitely got a problem because I've asked enough questions. He's definitely in enough pain, because what you're looking for is someone in enough pain to take a problem. The last question, which is the bit that is do I now go back to this thing about price? Because if I can ascertain that he understands that, broadly speaking, to get rid of mice is going to cost, if it's a simple problem, it could be 250. If it's in your drains, it could be worse, but your minimum is 250. If you've had that conversation on the phone and he still hasn't coughed up or said anything, you're on to quite a strong signal that you can go and do the job. If you haven't talked about price and then you go to it, don't be surprised when you say 250 quid and he goes, sorry, I thought it was going to be 50 quid like the council. But what we talk about in training, you've got to decide, if price has not been discussed by the customer on the phone, do you take the chance and bring it up, or do you assume that it's not that price sensitive? It's a difficult one, isn't it? My view is I just want to get in front of the customer so I can show him what a nice guy I am. I've got an ID badge. I've got a decent, I am a decent individual, because a lot of the fear of people is, am I inviting an idiot into my house? Am I inviting a scammer into my house? Am I inviting a fly-by-night? That's what's more, they're more worried about that, I think, than some of the things that people think they're thinking about. Price might be one of those things they talk about, but they don't know what else to ask. How much is it? They don't know what else is it. What's the Latin name of a rat? What's the gestation period of a mouse? They don't care about that. They might ask what products you use, but that's for another day. But no, look, does that make sense? Think about it. This is mindset and making sure we don't follow the beat of the drum that the customer expects us to do. Go the other way.
See, sorry, I'll let you go next. I'll tell you the other thing which made me a lot worse at getting them off the phone quickly or keeping them on the phone for longer if I think they're buying, was when I started employing people. Because when I was going on my own, and if I didn't get it, it wasn't the end of the world. I didn't feel like it had cost us. But then as soon as I was paying £25 an hour, when everything adds up, to send someone there, like to have a time waster, I'm like, there's not a chance I'm sending my lads there, but maybe I'm potentially getting that wrong. I don't know.
It's an interesting one, because there is a slight different dynamic there. You're selling and then sending someone to that job, so you lose an element of that connectivity with the customer. Maybe it's spending a bit of time with your technicians to not to make them salespeople, because I don't believe we need to be salespeople, because they've got the problem, we've got the solution. We just need to help the customer to make the right solution, make the right decision. I say to my guys, you're not a salesman. They've got the problem. You've just got to make sure they feel you're the right solution. But it might be that you just need to take your guys just through a tiny little bit of training to go through what they should do when they get to site. Go through, ask the right questions. I mean, I could share something separately with you, Sean, in terms of a kind of a flow. I mean, I can't tell you how anal we are at studying stuff. Literally, we flow chart it, because the reason we do this and why we're so anal, because one, I'm an accountant. But also, when you understand all the different levers in your business and you can identify 20 levers that influence your sales, you've got 20 things that you can change, and you only have to change them one tiny little bit to suddenly get a massive increase. And this is what we show the guys. Everyone thinks, I get these calls, and I don't know how many of my guys are even listening today. I hope not too many. I think I'm giving away all the secrets. Is they'll ring me and say, Sean, I want to improve my sales. Sales aren't good enough. And I go, great. But how am I going to improve your sales? How many jobs have you done? What's your average price value? What's your conversion rate? Oh, I don't know. Just my sales aren't good enough. Well, sales is just the result of a number of things. It's the price you sell at, how you convert, what marketing you do, how good you are at the marketing. If you don't know all these different levers, I can't help you. So we put in place a lot of measures to measure that, so I can help you. If someone says, I need more sales, I need to look at what their average price is, what their average job is. I need to look at their conversion rates so I can advise them properly. Because otherwise I just say, get out and do more, get out and do more. Well, but move more what? It's a series of levers. Literally, I could list 30 things that you could improve in your business. If you can improve them by 1%, you could probably double your sales. It's ridiculous how those levers in your business, if you understand them, can make a big difference.
My point here is, and we'll leave this up just to you came into this little role play saying, this is dumb, I don't know what anyone's going to get out of this. I just have to say, this has been 20 minutes. There are people probably listening to this right now, scribbling notes furiously onto the backs of fag packets. I think this has probably been one of the most beneficial sort of like 20 minutes of back and forth we've had in a while. I mean, genuinely, there has been so many little nuggets of genuine wisdom fallen out of this. That is, say, giving away company secrets. I mean, absolutely. So thank you so much.
But Alex, stop this. Alex, let's stop there. We have no magic wands. We just study business. We understand it, and because we work behind the tools, not on the tools, we've got the time to study all these wheels. I wouldn't expect Sean to do the analysis that we do. He's running a business. But this is where, if you like, this is the value that we love giving, is look, tweak that, change that. We had some guys. Sorry?
What you've said today, and it's quite interesting because T's Pest Quest said it, that like 18 months till I got comfortable with your pricing. What you're saying about that price not being here, then it goes up, and that feeling of fucking hell, I've robbed myself for the last however long because I could have charged 20% more. Everybody, you talk to anybody, and it doesn't make a difference what business they're starting, goes on exactly that same path, like exactly that same path. So when you talk about that, like already in my head, I'm thinking of them little levers. How do I improve them by? Because if you take one thing, if you've got 10 things, you improve them all by 1%, then you're 10% better, aren't you? And then you're 10% better than your competitor. So that journey that you talk about for people listening to this, everyone's on the same path. They're just at a different point, aren't they? And like, I think, right, so now I know I need to look at that rapidly. I need to look at it. The issue is, of course, that I'm at that point in my journey where I don't have the staff to do that. I don't have the time, but I've now got to figure out how to do that, don't I? That's the next.
Well, we got a franchise in Sunderland. We got a space in Sunderland.
So here's a question for you. And I'll tell you what, because I know Malcolm and we talk a lot about the two very different but very similar business models. Tell me the pros and the cons to a franchise and starting up on your own. And then I'll tell you what I think the pros and cons are. because it's amazing how different they are from within the franchise to outside the franchise.
Oh, what the pros and cons of going on your own. Look, with notwithstanding that everyone's going to have a different view on what they are. For me, if you break it down into one thing, it's a fast start. You go through exactly the same, because we can say to someone, don't do this, don't do that. What I mean by that is how you, and they'll go away and they'll burn their fingers. It's like, I mean, I'm no disrespect. I see Nathan's on the call here. He's sometimes having kids, don't do that. Oh, burnt, I burnt. It's a fast start. And I know that for a fact, one, because I've been in business a long time, but I've had people come to me saying, I want to join the franchise. I started my own pest control business, X, Y, Z. My God, starting up a website, doing this, getting my IT right, doing that, doing this. You know, I was this much deep in cost before I'd even got my first job. The thing with us is you kind of get a fast start. Also, we do kind of avoid some of those stupid mistakes that some people can make early doors, because again, we kind of have the model. It's not perfect. It constantly changes and evolves. So for me, it's the fast start. The difference, but the con is that what you get with some franchises, once someone has been in, trained, done it, got all the tools, why do I need to be part of a franchise? So our challenge is, how do we keep the community together in the longer term? Because you'll know loads of you'll know lots of people that have joined a franchise, left, and carried on doing it themselves, which from a franchisor's point of view is the biggest heartache and knife to your heart that you can get. But it's reality that some people just, I don't see the value anymore. So that's the con. And the other side, obviously, if you're part of a franchise, you can't do anything you want to do. It's common sense, but if you run your own business, Sean, you can paint your head blue, you could turn up on a motorcycle, you could do whatever you frigging want, and no one's going to question you. Maybe your customer might, but for us, so you do have to operate within the brand rules, which isn't like that. There are some fairly broad rules, but you have to operate within that, and you can't go outside them.
Now, you mentioned community, and I do have to tell you a story, and I won't mention names because it will embarrass them fully. But there was 5 guys. I ran a. No, don't give me that look, guys. It's not that kind of story. Who do you think I am? But I gave a level 2 award course through the BPCA end of last year, around about October, and there was 5 of your guys on it, 5 guys from the Forces group. And you talk about community, and you talk about the community of the Forces group, and these 5 guys were on the call, and on the course, and on the first day, they were all sort of like downstairs, having after the course had finished, having a pint, having a game of pool, having a chat, and the rest of it. And I was like, okay, left them to it. And the next morning, I see them all sort of like bleary-eyed, and I was like, oh. Did they just spend the night up all night, sort of like drinking away, playing pool, when they should be doing this? And no, I pulled one of them aside. It's like, guys, you've been here. There's a small fortune to be here. Just yeah. And they turn around and say, oh no. We literally just had 2 pints to sort of like to decompress, and then we all went back up to the room together, and we all 5 of us, piled into one room, and we helped each other revise. And they did this every night, all 5 of them. And bear in mind that they've not the only linking factor. So 2 of them had known each other previously, and one of them was, on the patch next door, but the other 2 didn't, know the group at all. But they'd locked onto each other as all being from the Forces group, and they helped each other. One of them was better at the insects than the others, so he was sort of like going through the bits. And they basically they spent all of their free time looking after each other, not just sort of like helping each other up and out, and quizzing each other on things, and they all passed. And I mean, they all passed really well. I think so. Well, a couple of them even got merits out of it. And it was all, and I put it down, not down to my training, but to that, they had a real sense of camaraderie between the 5 of them, and they didn't go back to their own rooms every night. They went back together. They stayed together as a group, and they supported each other. And it was actually really wonderful to see, because I've given these courses before, and end of the day, everyone goes their own separate ways, and that's it. But these guys stuck together like glue, and it really showed. So yeah, there is a sense of community and camaraderie, with all sharing a badge.
No, and that is really nice to hear, because it's something I'm really conscious of, because I don't want people to lose the value of being, and people join to be a part of something. they're not on their own. They are working on their own, but they feel part of something. And also there's the wider community, the wider pest control community. Some people shut themselves away, and we're not the most outwardly bound company, but we want to work with the wider community, not just internally as a community. We want to get rid of the charlatans and the fly-by-nights, but like this, although I know you, Alex, through training, Sean's relationship with Malcolm, it's brilliant. I love those connections, because that's what business is all about, and there's enough business out there for everybody working together, all that stuff. So I love community, and we will keep working on our community. We don't cross arms and sing Kumbaya together, but we make sure there is a strong community. And what was really staggering was how at the conference, we have an annual conference, we started talking about mental health and stuff like that. My word, that opened the fucking door, let me tell you. That, bear in mind, we've got 100 franchisees, most of them men, in a van all day. Well, that was quite eye-opening.
I was about to say, and not to embarrass anyone, but hang on,
because I want to ask him something like that. Who was the guy who gave the talk? Because I tell you how important that was. Malcolm rang me the next morning and said, "Fuck me, Sean." He said, "You should have heard this." And I was like, "What?" And he said, "Everything me and you talk about," he said, he said, "You should have listened to it from start to finish." He said it was absolutely phenomenal. And he told us the name of the person, and I can't remember. And then when I went back and asked him, he's like, "Oh, I can't remember now." But he was a pest controller.
Michael Coates. Michael Coates from Combat Pest Control, who I believe has just been bought out by the company you were talking about last week.
Yeah, he said it was just.
Who was the company you were talking about that's buying up everybody at the moment?
Well, Tyro Group.
Tyro Group, that's it. I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure. But yeah, Michael, we know Michael through acquaintances and stuff, and he's ex-military, and he does speak around mental health. So we knew he was there. And honestly, I didn't know how that would go down. Bear in mind, a group of 40 to 50-year-old blokes in a room. Like, I didn't know how this was going to go down, but literally, boom, he opened up. One guy stood up and said, he was having these issues and tried to commit suicide. And then I had conversations with people outside of that. And look, at the end of the day, we have a response. We care about our community. I can't look after every single individual, but making sure they know there is support out there if they need it. And that's the wider, for you, Sean, anybody who runs their own business, what is the fucking hardest thing to do? The fact that it all sits on your shoulders, stress, strain. You go home in the evenings and you got that going on over there and that going on there. Employees can go home and kind of turn off. As business leaders, and franchisees are business owners, the same challenge is there. Notwithstanding financial pressure and
I have to say, I was at that conference, and it was stunning. I listened to that talk, and the thing that struck me most, I mean, the talk itself, phenomenally raw, open, honest, no holes barred, and it suddenly struck enough of a chord that, as you say, there were several guys in the crowd stood up and said, in front of a room to what you would imagine should be comparative strangers, it's not the place where you feel you can be vulnerable. And it was a couple of guys, wasn't there, that turned around and said, "Look, I hear what you're saying. I've had exactly the same issues." And I think one of the more touching moments was the gentleman you were talking about that stood up and said, I've had these issues. It's come almost to a head a couple of times. There was an older, gentleman next to him, but when this guy had stopped talking, he didn't say anything. He just kind of like leant over and put his hand on the shoulder, this guy's shoulder, and he just gave it that little bit of a sort of like, there we go. And it showed that there was a real sort of like, it wasn't a case of everyone was waiting to have their turn to speak. They were all listening to each other, which lovely. You don't see that often these days, do you?
No, but that's why. Look, that is very personal to me. Generally, about looking after people. I can't do everything for everybody, but that also comes back to another learning, if you like, which I think ties in with what you've been talking about, Alex. Looking after yourself, fitness, nutrition, all that stuff. Like, as business owners, if you're not looking after yourself like that now, you are going to get left behind because of the pressures and all the other things that go on in life. If you don't start looking after yourself as a business owner, I mean, you don't, because you're out there working and doing that, and you forget that, and you don't eat so well. this is a new little area that I'm really focusing on at the moment. And if any of my guys are on it, they're going to go, oh, fucking hell, Sean's boring to life about this stuff again. But genuinely, I've been a keen sportsman all my life. I've kind of looked after myself, but now I'm kind of like, absolutely. Sportsmen have gone from 30 years ago when they used to have a fag and oranges at half time to having psychologists, nutritionists, physiotherapists. As business leaders now, I believe you need to follow a similar kind of path, because if you're going to be at the top of your game in the best state of mind, your body's got to be in a good state of mind. That means your nutrition. So I might be a bit evangelical, but I truly believe that is right now. If you want to be a true leader in today's business world, you need to be like a little athlete to be in the best, because it's proven. Science has shown it. Good state of mind, good thought, good emotion, good activity, good results. 5 things.
Do you think that's part of the journey though? Because it's and this is just coming into my head now. So if you think I'm talking shit, just because recently part of the thing that I've been doing is I've been getting fit. So I go to the gym 5-6 times a week of an evening for an hour and a half, something like that, like proper blasted. I'm probably the fittest I've ever been at 42. And I genuinely know it's made a huge difference to me in the way I behave, in the way I see things, and the way I act on a day-to-day basis. But I've also noticed a lot of other people who are on their own in business doing it. Is this part of the journey, or is this just something that individuals pick up? Is this another part of getting your pricing right, getting your body fit and your mind fit? Or is it you get to 40? For anyone who's not at 40, when you get to 40, all of a sudden you realize you're not fucking indestructible and shit starts going wrong, doesn't it?
Yeah, look, I think there's an element of that, Sean, but I think it's just being, age definitely. You start wanting to look after yourself, because as they said, if food, what they say, let food be your medicine, otherwise medicine will be your food, or something along those lines, wasn't it? But I truly, just listening and looking around the world today, people are looking at things differently because the science is proving it. It might be an age thing, it might be something that just happens naturally, but I know too many people. I fell off 2-3 years ago, fell over at work, didn't really think about myself, hadn't been given me time, and I've changed my whole thought process, and that's why I'm now advocating that other people should. Because if you do throw yourself into the work, Alex, and you don't give yourself a holiday, then eventually your brain will fall over. Eventually you will fall over. It just can't cope with it. But when you start listening to, I listen to a lot to Zoe and other people, you start putting things in place. You say, I'm really tired. Oh, great. Okay. Why am I really tired? Okay. I should be doing this. I mean, I'm a boy from the 80s, cereal for breakfast, white toast, marmalade, tea, it's like sugar, and you wonder why you have these sugar rushes and you can't focus at certain times and you're overweight, and suddenly you make that change and your mind's clearer, you feel better. Discipline, going to the gym is about discipline. If you get disciplined at doing things in business, you'll get better at doing disciplined things. Because what happens at the gym is you do something and you want to lose weight or get fit. It doesn't happen immediately. You don't get an immediate rush. You have to keep doing it. Whereas we're all looking for the dopamine rush of an immediate fix. And I think that's the other trouble in business. We want to do something and see an immediate result. And it doesn't work like that. It does sometimes, but you want to do things that will lead to where you need to go to, and just keep doing it. But because it's boring and you don't see an immediate result, you stop doing it, when actually you were on the right path. And I've seen that happen in business so many times. Why did you stop doing what you were doing? You were driving to Scotland and you got to Birmingham. You were actually en route to Scotland, but you gave up because you hadn't quite got there. If you'd kept going, you'd have got to the end result. But everyone wants the immediate dopamine rush of a fix. And in business, it doesn't happen, unfortunately, every time.
It reminds me of my most favourite saying in the world. Have you heard this one, Alex? It was said to me once I was starting to get going with pest control. And my story is I always wanted to be a pest controller when I was a kid, but I was talked out of it. I was academic at school, believe it or not. I was told there's easier ways to make money than being on the tools. Don't do it. So I didn't. Eventually it come round. And someone read a saying out, and it proper resonates with me. And I say it to lads all the time. It is, at first your dreams appear impossible, then they appear improbable, but eventually you realize they are inevitable. And I was like, fuck me, like for me, a proper hitters, because I thought, whenever I've thought about something, you look and you think, I'd love to be good at fishing, or I'd love to be good at golf. I would love to be able to beat him at golf. I'd love to be able to lift as much weight as that guy over there in the corner of the gym. I'd love to have 2 or 3 lads working for me in a little fleet of vans. And you think, that's never going to happen. And then eventually you get started and you think, oh, just fucking might, yeah. And then it gets to a point where you think, I'm going to lift more than him. You know, I'm going to train harder than him. I'm going to have them vans. It's inevitable. It's fucking coming, isn't it? And it's that journey that everyone talks about. And for me, that saying is the one that, like, every time I look at stuff now, I think I just need all the stuff I think I couldn't do. Like, I've got to just realize it's inevitable. It's coming. Like, miss them 2 first steps out. Just go for it. You know, that's my thought process.
But that's mindset, Sean. That's mindset. Your mind, you've trained yourself, or it's all about mindset. If you think you can or you think you can't, you're probably right, and it plays out every fucking time.
Yeah.
The other one that resonates with that, which is along a similar vein, which is to be the best at something, you've got to first accept that you are going to be the worst at it. Like, you've got to start somewhere. You'll be, the first time you do something, the first time you go and play golf, you are not going to be world class. You're going to have to accept emotionally in yourself that the first time you do something, you're not going to be good. But the point is the second time you do it, you're going to be slightly less not good. And at some point, you then become good. But no one ever starts something new and is the best at it. So never, don't, if you don't get it right the first time, it's not because you're not good at it or you're never going to be not good at it. It's because it's the journey. It's the first step of the journey. And in order to be the master, you've first got to be, useless. And you don't have to be useless for long.
We have a formula. I think I probably nicked it, so I don't think it's mine. It's what's the formula for success? It's failure plus persistence equals success. You fall down, like riding a bike. You fall off it, you get back on and ride it. You fall off, you get back on and ride it. Running a business, doing anything, that's what it is. Failure plus persistence equals success.
So, if anyone doesn't know, I've actually done a little podcast with Sean before, and he asked me a question at the end of it, but I want to ask Sean. And he said, I can remember he said to us, like, what do you want to do? What do you want? Where are you going to go? And when we talk about journeys, I know you say you've got however many years left. I don't believe that for a second. I don't think you're going to get to 60 and give up. Like, nobody does. You're not that way inclined. No. I don't. Maybe I'm wrong. So where you are now, Pestforce, Lockforce, Washforce, where's the dreams are inevitable?
So that's okay. So you're right in what you're saying. So I was brought up working with as an FD for small businesses and bigger business, buy, sell. People made themselves loads of money. They grow a business, buy and sell. And I've seen people basically grow businesses, sell it and leave. And we've probably all seen people, and certainly in the pest control industry, people have grown a business, flogged it and gone somewhere else. And I had a business mentor once that said, what's your plan, Sean? I said, well, if I grow the business, then I can sell it and then have some money and great. Yacht.
but anyone listening back on Spotify, Neil Bond just put a comment up that was both Sean and I scrabbled to post up as quick as I could, and of course we've just asked Sean, what's the future, what's he want to do, and Neil's just said you're going to start up Yacht Force, and I think that's a very good plan there.
Look, I was very much of a mindset. You grow a business and you flog it and you make some money and you retire, and then, but like you say, Sean, then what do you fucking do? Genuinely, what would you do? And I've seen so many people do it in my business mentoring groups and other things that people that I interface with, and they probably leave, take a year off, and then start doing it again and wish they'd never sold. Most people wish they never sold because it's like, well, so what? I've got X in the bank. I've got a house, I've got a car, I've got a holiday. What more could I have, sort of thing? So I've come to this realization that all I want to do is keep growing the business. But what I want to do is make sure it's done on my terms and that I can choose what I do or don't do in time. So, if I grow the team the right way, whether I come into work or don't come into work, the business carries on. So I love being in work. I love being there. but I can take, for example, Wednesdays afternoons I don't work anymore because I play cricket on a Wednesday afternoon. So I'm building the business around, so it's not like if I'm not there, it carries on and we keep doing that. I've also got this view that I would like maybe a couple of other different service streams. I'd like to maybe buy another force of some sort to kind of complement what we do, but we are busy enough at the moment, particularly with the brands that we've got. Yeah, come back to Yacht Force again. So look, I don't see myself retiring. I just see constant growth, but I want my time to be what I want to do. I want to do what I want to do in business, but I don't have to do something. And over the last 2 or 3 years, I've really worked on that. We've got a great team. I'm still in the business every day, but if I don't turn up to work carries on. We sell, we get more franchisees on board. So that's what I'm going to keep doing, Sean, and that's what I'd advocate. Anyone who grows a business that wants to have what I call a real bricks and mortar business, you just want to learn to extract yourself and let you do just what you want to do. If you love doing live honeybee removals and that's all you want to do, just make sure you've got the team around you to do the rest of it. If you don't want to be on the tools, go into the back, do the job that you want to do, because then you're going to love you. You don't retire, do you? I don't think there is such a thing as retirement anymore.
So I think there is for some people, but claimed you're not retiring, are you?
Depending on who's in government.
Say that again.
Alex, do you reckon you'll retire at some point? Are you one of them guys that when you finish with BSF or whatever it is at the time, you'll look for a retirement and step back, or will you be a me and just work till you die?
I think my father has very much bucked the trend of the male weight in our family by living as long as he has. So I don't have a long lineage of. I will work until I die, which could be anywhere between next Wednesday and mid 50s. The outlook's not so bright for me. I don't know how Dad's done it. He's very much bucked the trend, but all of the other males in the Wade line have not done quite so well. So I probably won't retire.
Yeah. Tell you what though, it's funny you say like what you were saying there, Sean. I'm obsessed with this journey thing, and my pal is a lot further on in the journey than we are. And it's funny because his goals are very similar to your goals. Whereas I think when you first start out, you think, I would like to grow to this size. I would like to have this many vans on the road. I would like to have my own premises. I would like to have, and it's very, I don't want to say materialistic, but it's almost measurable, if that makes sense, a measurable target. Whereas when I talk to someone like you or Peter or whatever, the measurable targets seem to go, and it seems to be more about managing the processes. Like Peter's, what you were saying to me, honestly, you could have had Peter sitting next to you and he would have been saying exactly the same thing as you. He starts to look at exactly the same thing. And I wonder if at some point my drive, my goals will change to becoming that as well, rather than I want to do this, I want to do that. Like I would like to turn over this, because we always measure in turnover, don't we? Your growth is always measured in turnover, but your growth and Peter's growth for certain appear no longer to be measured in turnover, more in terms of enjoyment. Is that the right word?
Yeah, no, it is. But don't forget, at the end of the day, you've still got to, at the end of the day, we all need money to live the life we want to lead. It's understanding what life you want to lead. And when you're in your 30s or something, you're not really thinking about 50s or 60s. You're kind of right in the thick of it and you just want to get on and do it. But for me, I've got profit targets and turnover targets that need to be hit if I want to lead the life I want to lead. But there comes a time when, a £1 million company, £2 million company, 10 million. Once you've got to where you want to be, it's kind of, well, what's more important? My time. My time, spending time doing the things I want to do when I want to do them is more important to me because I've reached a level. Don't get me wrong, I have got profit targets and growth targets I want to hit, but it's not all about that. It's about what does it create for me. Now you can say, if you decide, sure, if you're thinking, sure, like the life I want to lead is I want this house, I want that car, I've got this, I want this amount of time, right? What does my business need to produce for me to lead the life I want to lead? And then you build your business to deliver that. And that's really clear. I know it sounds easier said than done, but that's kind of what I've done. This is the life I want to lead. So what does my business need to generate for me to do that? And if that's the case, then how many franchisees do I need? Turning over what sort of level? It's kind of QED. You've got the recipe. Now I just need to go and do it. And I did that exercise 2 or 3 years ago, and I'm really close to that number, which is great. But I'm still driven underneath to think, well, I can go a little bit more. But the pressure's off. The pressure is off in many ways. But for me, it's about my time and what I do with it now. Come to Pestex and see people wearing software jumpers and things like that. My franchisee.
That's it. Yeah.
No, I tell you, I think what you've done is a really smart move. I think it's a really smart move.
Sean, I want to take credit for it and tell you that it was pre-planned out, and it was, I saw the goal. It was inevitable. It actually genuinely wasn't. Like, it was just, it happened, but without us knowing it. And then all of a sudden, I was like, "Oh, I'm here now." So, but yeah, it's doing good. It's doing really good. We're building more and more things into it, so I can't knock it. But this is your thing. I'm conscious we're going for an hour and a half, and I've kind of stolen the show a little bit this week, Alex. So you must have loads of questions for Sean now.
Actually, no. I've been much in the same way that when I start, talking about funny bugs and stuff, I run off on one. I've just been really much enjoying this because it roles reversed at the moment. This is what I find fascinating to listen to, and I think we've had a tremendous amount of wisdom come out of today, and I think there's some real sort of, like, as I say, gold in amongst us chatting here. And I don't know, I'm hoping that it's sort of like covered or closed down some of the misconceptions of franchises for a lot of people listening, and maybe it's opened some doors, opened some minds possibly as well.
Tell you what I'm going to steal this a little bit from you again, Alex.
That's all right.
Yeah, working with Malcolm, because we work together on a regular basis. I get to see what Pestforce does for him, and I think it's only fair. I was going to say it earlier, but we forgot. What I see the difference between starting up on your own and a franchise is, and you're absolutely right, that head start, that hit the ground running thing is invaluable. Like, if you do not have a business that's going to be able to fund your startup as a pest controller, it's a very difficult gig to get started, and there's no getting around it, and when T's Pest Quest was saying people don't understand the cost that goes into it, like, for me, when me and Malcolm were sitting talking, like, where he was at after 3 months was where I was at after 3 years, and that camaraderie, but not just the camaraderie, the ability to have someone at the end of the phone who can answer your questions, because early on I didn't. I just had to suck it and see and find out the fucking hard way, and learn from my mistakes, exactly as I'm saying to you about the phone call and things like that. I don't really have that community. Well, I have friends, but I don't have that community around us, which he does. But the value that he gets from the shit that goes through my brain, which stops me concentrating on being a pest controller. Is my website right? Do I need to do this? Where am I going to go for pay-per-click? Is he a charlatan? Can I pay for this? Is he ripping us off? Am I getting what I need? Like, and you don't know. When you start out, you only know what you know. So someone who's selling you pay-per-click, how do you know if it's any good? You don't. But when you go with a franchise, you've got someone there who is doing it for 100 other businesses, who is paid to make sure that your phone rings. And that's the difference, isn't it? Like, from day dot, you're off to the races, boom, gone. And if you're struggling, you pick up the phone and you go, I've got this funny bug. And you ring Sean, and Sean goes, I don't know what that funny bug is, but Phil might. And if Phil doesn't, I'll give Alex a ring, and I know the person to ask. Whereas when I first started out, when I got a golden Australian spider beetle, I was like, do you know what I mean? Like, yeah.
Here he is.
Yeah, Malcolm. Yeah, and this is what Malcolm says. It's not a guarantee to be success unless you have the work ethic to drive it. And this was one of the questions I wanted to ask you about this. And when you said earlier, franchisees doesn't appeal to everyone, but it does appeal to some. And there's like, there must be people who are suited to franchises and people who aren't. We know that work ethic is probably the number one. Like, it doesn't make a difference who's making your phone ring if you're not going to get up and go to the job. If you're not going to do this, you're going to fucking struggle. What other qualities do you look for other than work ethic when you are looking for a suitable franchisee?
Wow. Well, people like Malcolm.
Yeah. And I could reel them off with Malcolm, but what do you look for?
So this is where the process, we have to rely on a process, because as we discussed this all the time internally, and a lot of gut feel comes into it. But so the process, as much as we've got the lovely glossy brochure that you talked about, Alex, and stuff, and it's all been thought through, we want to put people off. We do not show pictures of flashy cars on holidays that some franchises, that's a bit old school. So we put people off to start with. Then when people do make the effort to come and see us, we're now looking at them as individuals. Could this individual wear a uniform? Could I, as a customer, trust this individual? We're looking at those just basic competencies. So we go through an interview process. We've already been through an online interview process. They come in and see us. And ultimately, we put it into their shoes. If we think they're a good fit for us, and then they think they're a good, if we're a good fit for them and they're a good fit for us, it's kind of, are we going to move forward? And we move forward with a really open. Is there a guarantee to success, Sean? No, there isn't. I cannot look you in the eye and guarantee you'll be a success. You can go and talk to our network, talk to our franchisees, go and make your own assessment. I'm not going to be the one responsible for you making this decision. I'll tell you whether you can join our gang, and then it's up to you to make it a success. I'm really clear about that, because if everything was, if I knew every silver bullet, I wouldn't be sat here, would I? It's about a real business with real people, with people like Malcolm. You know, Malcolm has just come in and just he's just done brilliant. And that is not my success. That is his success. Let's be really clear about this. We've got the tools and we've got the experience. The people that make it work are our franchisees. No one else. No one else. Yeah. I can't even, I'd like to think I play a little part, but it's a little part. They're the ones that bring the fire, you know, I mean, we've got something like 21,000 reviews from customers, not because of what I've done, because of what our guys do day in, day out.
Just to confirm, they are good reviews, right?
Well, we got some, look, I'll be really honest, we got some 1 stars, but not many. We fuck up. We fuck up. We some franchisees don't make it. I'm not saying we're perfect, but compared to the normal stats, you know, we're way better.
But trust us, Sean, I promise you, you know, and I talk about what you get as a franchisee, and this is the difference. I promise you, this is how naive I was. I don't know how many years I was into pest control, and one of my friends who is like a digital fucking person said to us, "Why have you got like 5 reviews?" And I was like, well, it's just what we've got. She went, "Do you not ask for them?" I was like, "No, they don't make it." Honestly, I promise you, I went, "No, they don't make a fucking difference, do they?" She went, "Of course they do." And I was like, "Are you joking?" She went, "No." She went, "Ask people for reviews and get them." And same old thing, it's that testing, isn't it? So we asked for them, we started getting a few. And then within, I don't know, 2 or 3 months, it started coming in. People would go, "Oh, I got you because I saw how good your reviews were." And I was like, years into it, and I was like, oh, for fuck's sake. All them jobs where I could have charged 20% more, I could have asked for a review and I didn't. But from the day you start in a franchise, and this is what they don't, I think some franchisees take for granted, is they don't understand that when someone in the franchise says to you, "Ask for a review, look, this is how you get a review." Here's a system for getting a review. They don't realize how much that's going to push them, because when you've got no one asking, no one to tell you, if I hadn't been told by Danielle, I'd probably still be fucking puddling around now without a review. And it's this community, isn't it? But you don't, like, there's the downside to it. Neil asks a question. I want to go on from it. Are most people who buy into Pestforce new to pest control? Or do you get many people who already know the industry? And further from that, I want to ask, are the people who you've had who are already in the industry, what challenges does that present to you as a franchisee, as a franchisor?
Okay. Yeah, okay. So I would say the majority don't come with having worked as a pest controller. Most don't. but we know our avatar. So come back to marketing, knowing your avatar. So hunting, shooting, fishing. A lot of our advertising is done in that. So a lot of people come with outdoors experience. They've done a little bit of trapping in the past. They've done a bit of moleing, or they've come with an element, certainly with that background. But I could probably count 5 people in our network that I know have come from the pest control background. We've recruited 2 or 3 rent-to-kill people recently over the last few years. And what does that bring with us? So in some ways that's great, because they don't have to relearn all the pest control stuff. We take them through they go through our normal training. We want to make sure, even if you've been in pest control a long time, that you don't come with all the bad practices. So we run them through the basic principles again. We check their level 2. They go out with a franchisee. So we want to make sure that it's done. But they're good because they don't really have to worry about the technical stuff. Can you imagine? You've got to learn to run a business and do technical at the same time. These guys who come in with pest control experience only have to learn one side of it. So we actually find they take off quicker, because they're not having to worry about, how do I do a mouse job, flea job? They've kind of done it. But we're not flippant to think, oh, you've got 30 years experience in pest control. Okay, but let's just double check that it's good. That you are. We took on a network when we bought this business. We had a network of franchisees that kind of almost did whatever they want. Don't get me wrong, there were some great ones, and they left because they didn't like what we were doing and they weren't happy with us coming and taking over. There were some great ones and they left, and they carry on trade today. But there were some that just kind of, we do this because we fucking do this, and you can't tell us what we can do. And I've always put FICAM D there, and whatever the comments were. So we just want to make sure that we do things right. And I'm not the technical one. I've got Phil Shaw, who's got 40 odd years experience in pest control that advises, and then we've got obviously likes of Alex and others.
Mario asks a question: do you have your own in-house team that does the marketing?
Yeah, we took it in-house we took it in-house 4 or 5 years ago, because I'm fed up with the marketing world and everyone promising silver bullets. It just drives. And don't get me wrong, our guys are good. They're very digital minded. I'm more not digitally minded. I'm thinking of some of the traditional ways you can market a business as well. But no, yeah, in the days gone by when you used to have an in-house payroll team, fuck payroll, have an in-house marketing team. When I was growing up in business, you'd outsource your marketing and you'd have your payroll in-house. Nowadays, get rid of all the periphery, but something like marketing is so important. If you can afford the resource, bring it in-house. And we did it 5 years ago. Odd.
Yeah. And this is the thing, isn't it? Like, as you say, in your experience, which is a lot more than mine in business, costs massively more, but not just that. Like, you're sitting there and you've got the time to run a business, rather than me who's trying to work on a business and in a business at the same time. Like, I'm sitting there going, this is a fucking head scratcher for me. So if it's a head scratcher for you, anybody who's not running a business and thinking about it, trust us, marketing. What was it Alan Sugar said? He said this
to me last time.
He said that was it.
I've written a book. I've written a book on marketing, a checkbook.
The checkbook. Yeah, that was it. Yeah. And he said, what was the other one? Of all the money he's wasted on market, he said he's something like half the money spent on marketing he's wasted. He just doesn't know which half. And if you haven't dipped your toe in that water, you won't get it. But if you have, you'll be like, yeah, fucking get it. Like, it is a minefield, isn't it?
It is. And again, we live in a privileged position that we have a team to do it. So while I subscribe to what you were saying, we're also quite anal about understanding where every penny gets spent and what return it gives us. This is another thing about the numbers game. Business is a numbers game. Again, we're very anal about, well, you spent this amount on that marketing, that amount on that marketing. It brought in this, it didn't do this. Again, because little tweaks make a big change. But we live in the same world as everybody. 1 minute Google guarantee works, then it doesn't. Then pay-per-clicks working, and it doesn't. Check a trade. We work in everyone else's world, but we absolutely double down on everything to make sure we do it to the nth degree. Like you were saying, Sean, our success, our guys are working for our guys. They know the pest control industry, they know the locksmith industry, they know the window cleaning, they know what they need to work on and what works. But we face the same challenges.
But this is it, isn't it? If my pay-per-click guy started working for the other pest controllers in my area, I'd be gutted, wouldn't I? But you've got a pay-per-click guy who's dealing with 75 pest control pay-per-clicks without a problem because they're all independent. They're not treading on each other's toes. So he's learning that industry 75 times, isn't he?
Yeah, and just to be clear, some of my guys don't do pay-per-click anymore. They're fed up of spending that money. I still have a view that you should do various forms of marketing, but because they built up a business, the website ranks well, they've got lots of contracts. You know, they've decided they don't need the pay-per-click. But again, for me, in marketing, you should have multiple pillars, because when something's not working, something else normally kicks in. You know, I mean, we could have a whole session about marketing, but it's the lifeblood of, if you don't do marketing, you don't get a business. And people that say I survive on referrals and recommendations, it's great as long as referrals and recommendations come in. But as eggs are eggs, there are times when they won't come in. So you need to be getting new customers, because customers die, unfortunately. So it's just you can't keep
doing
having
to your customers.
Well, you know, it's life.
Yeah.
Well, let's not go around about talking killing things. That's another subject.
As I say, but for me as a consultant, marketing's a bit of a weird one, because for two reasons. You know, being a consultant, the thing you're marketing is yourself, and that always feels super awkward. And the other thing with that as well is, I found, especially when I started up, I spent half of my time telling people what I did, and the other half of the time doing the things that I did. And it seemed like a really weird balancing act, that every moment that I wasn't working, I had to be telling people what I had just been doing in order to remind them of what I did for a job. It was it took so much time. It was unreal. But we an hour and 46 now. I think, you know, to put you out of your misery now. You've been a very, very good sport. We always promise they're going to go on for an hour and a half, and I don't think the last time, you know, this is it. If we ever finish, you know, under an hour and a half, it's because the podcast hasn't been done.
Well, I'm sorry to bore you all like that. And remember, it's Britain's Got Talent, so I'm missing Britain's Got Talent for this. So just remember that.
Well, hopefully,
can I finish? Can I finish on one thing though? Because you talked about sport. I love my sport, and no one's actually asked me why I put TSPDD in my thing here. I'm going to
tell you why I didn't ask about that, because I spotted it. Because I presumed it was some business analogy, and I'd look like a thick bastard for saying, "What's that?" And you and Alex are going to go, "Oh, that's the so-and-so business." I just thought, "Fuck it, I'm not saying nothing. Keep me track."
Hang on.
No.
I'm trying to figure out what
you'll never get it. You'll never get it. But I'll tell you what it was. I went to the Saracens rugby club once, and I had dinner don't ask me why, I had dinner in the changing rooms at the Saracens, like a proper sit down formal dinner in the Saracens changing room. And in the corner were these letters, and the guy who owned the Saracens at the time stood up, and he's someone actually in franchising, funny enough, and he pointed to those letters and he goes, "I bet you're asking what that is." And we all go, "Yeah, what it is." And he said, "It's the shit people don't see." And that's what's in the Saracens changing room. And I just thought that is so true in life and business. The shit people don't see. Oh, Sean Mooney, he's so lucky. Alex Wade, he's so lucky. Piss off. It's the hard work. It's the shit that people don't see that is what drives a business. And that's what I just thought. I love that analogy. The shit people don't see. Sean is so lucky.
Yeah,
I'm going to get that embroidered on my new work uniforms. I kid you not. You know,
I'm looking for a spot in my office.
Just a little plaque. So, very quickly before we leave, I used to, when I was so you might imagine I had a gap year. I've got the voice of a man that did a gap year, didn't I? And with that, I went to Oz. And when I was in Oz, I basically worked for a steakhouse as a waiter. And it was the worst steakhouse in the world. I really hated it. But on the front of every menu, it had the first letter from each word from the sentence, "Please don't steal the fucking steak knives." And that was just embossed across the front of every single menu. And depending on how good a day you were having, when someone would be like looking at the menu, they'd be like, "Oh, just out of interest, you know, we're having a bit of a debate on the table. What does this stand for?" And if you were having a good day, you'd be like, oh, it's just management's little joke. Don't you worry about it. And if you're having a bad day, you'd sit there and be like, please don't steal the fucking steak knives. And then you'd walk off and you could see the people's face be like, no. And then you could see them sounding it out in their head. They'd be like, yes. If anyone wants to go there, it's Ribs and Rumps and Manly. But there we go. Right. We're up to the end then. So we've got 3 questions for you. We've got 3 questions. We're going to bring them up now. And I'm going to ask the first one this time. And the first one is, have you enjoyed your time on the podcast?
Of course. Yeah, look, honestly, I'm a boring, geeky, and if and as much as I love my community and I love, if we're part of the same community, if I can give back a little bit, I haven't given you everything today, but if I give a little bit to people, because what you get, what you give, you get back. So I've loved it. It's gone much quicker than I thought, because I listened last week and I'm not really into my bee. I love bees but that was getting quite deep last week, and I had to switch off after about an hour and 40, because it's like, oh my God, how far are we going? But no, I loved it. Thanks very much.
They absolutely drew. They just very quickly. We've gone to the next one. They threw me under the bus last week. Sean, Clive, Hugh. Absolutely. We launched it. We had about 10 minutes beforehand of, right, what we're going to do. And then in the first 30 seconds, Sean was like, right, what I suggest we do is I'm going to take the position of saving bees and you're going to take the position of killing bees. I was like, we didn't discuss this.
No, I know, but we didn't discuss the telephone call. It just seemed like the right thing to do, did it? You know, like, and you know, I don't know if you saw or not, there was a guy who put a post up on LinkedIn about it. And I thought, if there was only him who watched it, I felt like that was worthwhile doing. Like, it's obviously something that I'm deeply passionate about. So yeah, thank you for being a good sport on that, Alex.
Good,
as I tell you what, I learned a lot. Don't get me wrong, I took a lot away from it, but it was just getting quite deep, and I was just all right, okay, I'm just going to leave it there. But just one little thing, one of our guys, we nearly lost one of our guys this week through anaphylactic shock.
Oh wow!
So one of our guys who does live honeybee removals did it all through PPE, everything. We're going to share it with the BPCA, because he's got no previous. He's been stung loads of times through various things, wasp nests and whatever else. But yeah, he got stung, and it was a quick help of his dad and people on site that he considered saved him. So yeah, just a little bit of a word of warning. They were doing is it an African colony or something, an Africanized colony or something?
I know what they're going to say. Right. So the Africanized honeybee. So we have Apis mellifera in this country, and then there's Apis mellifera carnica, Apis mellifera linguistica, and there is one called Apis mellifera I think it's scutalaga, which is an Africanized honeybee. It's incredibly aggressive. It's not in this country. However, that being said, it's important for people to understand, and this is why I say to people all the time, these aggressive bees, absolutely, scutellata, that's it, don't exist in the UK. That being said, please, just because it don't exist in the UK, do not think we do not have incredibly aggressive bees in this country, and we do. And I'm glad you've come forward about that, because we've been saying it for a while within the UKBR. And I don't know if you've noticed or not, if you go back to the UKBR's posts, it'll be weeks ago, a month ago at best, I put a question on saying, why are bee removers doing bee removals without PPE on? You've got people in shorts, you've got people not wearing gloves, you've got people not wearing veils, like in the thought that it shows their professionalism and their ability to deal with the bees. Well, trust me, I've been there, I've done it, I've been walloped by them. You've got to be fucking careful, you know, you've got to be careful. So it'll be interesting to see what comes of that, because this has been a long time, well, not a long time coming, but it's been coming for a while, that someone was going to end up getting hurt to a degree. And as you say, even with the right PPE on, it can go wrong, you know. It can go wrong, you know.
No, well, it's just we've had a conversation internally. We're sending out some information, just share it to everybody, because it's another reminder, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right.
So are you saying he nearly died then? Was it that bad?
Well, speaking to him, he considered himself that he wouldn't have survived if people hadn't take action.
Right. Yeah.
Scary stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Well, on a positive note, he got through it. Thank God.
Yeah.
And I'm sure everyone's a lot wiser for it. I'm all fuck up, don't we? I got my first 1-star review, you know, Sean.
You got your first 1-star review. Did you?
Well,
How'd you deal with it?
So I got my first legitimate 1-star review. We had someone in this area who was a pest controller putting 1-star reviews on. Google took them off because they weren't legit. It took a while to get them off, but I hope he wasted his money getting them put on. That's a whole different thing. It was my fuck up. We'd been to a job, or the lads had been to a job. I ended up going back with them to have a look at it. And it was Dale who went with us. Dale thought I was dealing with it. I thought Dale was dealing with it. Luckily, I'd sent the lady a text message, which she hadn't picked up. She thought we were ignoring her. Just very, very poor communication from me, really. Next thing, gets a 1-star review. And I was like, what the fuck's this? Like, we've been back and sorted the job out, tried to put it right. Will she change her 1-star review? I don't know. Did we deserve it? Probably, yeah. Fucked up. Didn't. My communication, absolutely my fault. Hands up. It was me. So I got my first 1-star review. Let's see if putting it right gets her to change it. And here's a question for you. Question for everyone. Should I ask her to change it, or should I just live with the consequences of it?
I've got a thought on this. 2 thoughts, actually. Number 1, stay humble. Keep it as a reminder. Number 2, actually, a host of 5-star reviews doesn't look right. Sometimes a legitimate yet low impact, low star review legitimizes the rest of your 5-star reviews, because it looks then as though it's real people leaving the reviews. If you look on, again, I'm going to go back to Amazon or eBay, and there's a reseller that has one that has sort of like 50 reviews and the average is 4.7, or someone that has 150 reviews and the average is 5, you are more psychologically prone to believe the 4.7, because it shows that there is they've not bought reviews, they're real. So actually, my opinion would be keep it, because it will make your the rest of your reviews seem more plausible by proxy.
Totally agree. Doesn't mean you don't want to go back and ask her, and there's no wrong in asking, but you don't want to plead. But as Alex said, my biggest problem, I've got some guys that individually have got 1,000 reviews and every one of them is 5-star, and I keep telling them, while I applaud your want and desire to do fantastic service, get a fucking 1-star review, because it doesn't look right. It doesn't look right, as Alex says. So what you need to do, Sean, is layer it up with some other ones quickly, and also make sure you respond to it. It's your response that is the response is the telling thing. People will read your 1-star reviews more than they'll read your 5-star reviews. If you go back with a decent response, job done, move on.
Perfect. Right. Last question. Who would you like to see on the podcast? Who do you think would give value?
We've completely missed the shameless plug here. You've skipped.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Give a shameless plug, Sean.
A shameless plug? What is a shameless plug? I'll never get to this stage. What, like how good we are? The fact we're the most reviewed pest control company in the UK today? I'm a Palace fan.
You had one product, one service, one thing that you feel is not being sold or is getting the recognition that it deserves, that you would like to give it. You would like to say to people, like, I don't know, say it was me, I like to go, do you know what it is? We're fucking minted honeybees. Anyone who wants honeybees, we'd love you to come and ask us to do them. Give us a shameless plug.
Okay, well, this is a little bit, I wasn't going to say this, but we have a national footprint, but we don't have a national footprint as a business. So we are regional players, our franchisees. If people would like to work with us, small businesses do fantastic work in local areas. We have some national accounts, but we don't sell ourselves as a national. So if someone has a customer in an area, but they can't service the wider community, if they've got something in Doncaster, so they could lose their account because they can't service the other ones. If they wanted to partner us or come up with some sort of solution, we'd be more than happy to work with them on a some sort of cooperation basis, if that makes sense. Because I know some regional players will lose work because their buyer wants to get one provider to service 8 different sites. They do one, but they lose that because they can't do the other 7. We'd happily partner with people like that. How about that? Is that the kind of thing?
It's perfect. That shows really, it means that actually a lot of the people listening to this, it opens a lot of doors for them to start to tender for larger, national contracts, which previously, because, of geography and time management, have not been possible. So I think that's a really great plug, personally.
Yeah, and I'll just follow up to say that this week I've potentially responded to 3 national tenders where we cannot service every single site. All I would say is we do not tender at low prices. We don't try and win it on price because we've got to service our franchisees who expect something. So we don't win much national account work because we are expensive, but we're not shy about that. We tell people, if you want a good service, we'll do it. If you want a cheap service, go down the road.
Yeah.
Lovely. So I'll ask the last one then, which is, who would you like to see next on Beauties and Beasties? If you, I was saying earlier, of all of our guests, you're probably one of the few that has, listened and commented and engaged with the podcast. So I'll take your lead on this more than others, which is, who would you like to listen to? Who do you like to hear from? What do you think would make for an interesting conversation?
I'll tell you someone who would, but I bet he won't come on. Michael Taylor.
Ooh, you know what? He may very well do. He's on the exec board with him. He always has something to, or previously was. He's
a
always
top.
got something to say. Yeah.
He's a top guy. He has built a very, very good business, but his whole background is just interesting. From starting off flying birds, just that he would be a good. If you could get him on, he'd be great. And he's not my brother.
Is he your brother? Is he really your brother?
No, he's not my brother. You see, he's a little lad from Newcastle. He's not my brother. I'm a 6'3" lad from South London.
Yeah. I tell you what I would like to say is I'd like to say thank you, because we have lots of guests on, and I don't know if this is a bit shit of me to say, but it's true. Like, after the podcast's finished, they'll wait till the end of the podcast and they'll go, "Glad that's finished. I can tell you what I think now." And I'm like, oh, fuck's sake. Just had an hour and a half where you got to tell what you think. And I can always tell the people who are being genuine. Like, I think it shines through, and Alex will back us up. The analytics afterwards, and the weeks and months that come afterwards, of the people who tell us what they think, just outshine massively the people who give us the answers that they think that they should be giving us. So thank you very much for your absolute honesty on it, and like being as brutally honest as you were. So, really, really from the bottom of my heart, thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you. Like you, Sean, you've done a lot for us. Alex, you've done a lot for us. Everyone helps everyone out, don't they? I mean, that's what the community is about. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, it's sometimes easy to overlook the fact that we are, the pest management industry is a community because it is that small. I went to a football stadium not so long ago, and it was one of the very big football stadiums in the UK. And the away seating for this football stadium was 10,000 seats. And I stood there and I looked at that and I thought, crikey, there's not that many more, I think, on record. The estimation is there's about 10,000 pest managers in the UK. So all of the pest managers in the UK, if we were to go for a day outing, we could all fit into that stadium, and we would barely fit the away stand of a Premier League football team. Jeez. And that's how few of us there are. It's nuts, isn't it?
Amazing. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. One last quick question for you two before we go. When you say that about the community, how do we get the big players, technicians, to engage with the outside world, for a want of a better thing? So your Rentos, your Ecos, your big firms where they've got like 1,000 technicians, 300, 500, 800 technicians. How do we get the two almost opposing forces to start to gel better, to talk to one another, so there isn't that, not animosity, but that sometimes antagonistic sort of behavior? How thoughts, and because I would love to be able to assist with doing that. I think that would be a real good thing for the podcast to do.
You go first, Alex.
Well, I don't have any ideas. I mean, if I had the ideas, I would have brought them up a little while ago. It's always been the biggest challenge of this industry is how do we talk to everyone? Because not everyone reads the same magazines. Not everyone's part of the same trade association. Some people aren't part of trade associations. We don't even buy from the same distributors. There is no one common linking factor between any pest manager in our industry. There's no one just stream of communication that's going to get to everyone at the same time. And I think that's the biggest failing in this industry is by the time you've spoken to everyone in it, it's almost become a game of Chinese whispers. And that's our issue. And that's why we are going to struggle to adapt to these global changes that are affecting our industry.
But I think you've also got the bigger companies tend to be public companies. Change of ownership or change of people at the top. There's very little consistency. So you might get a good egg who thinks well along your line, Sean, and then he goes to another company. And so I just think it is a challenge, but maybe we can start with, we consider ourselves kind of a middle road. We're not an independent, but we're not a national. We're kind of sat in the middle, and us just being open and starts possibly creating that, people can work together. We can talk. We can share. That's, and I don't know, but I think there is that challenge with some of the big boys, Rentokil and others. Why do they need to cooperate with anybody? They're kind of, they make their money, they do their stuff. There's no real incentive for them to do it if they don't have the bigger picture about what the industry is all about.
There we go. Sean and I will do a live podcast either from PestX or PestX, or we'll come to your Forces conference and sit in the corner and do a little live podcast on the side. Just get some people involved. But no, thank you ever so much. And it's mad. I'm going to say something here. There's a lot of people that have been listening all the way to the end because suddenly the comments have blown up. But I have to say, it's really telling that when you were chatting earlier, comments went quiet, not because anyone wasn't listening or not because people weren't there. I'm pretty certain it's because you had people's attention so thoroughly during mine and Sean's role play. I'm really impressed with that. So thank you ever so much for coming on. And you'll have to let us know what happens. And Sean, I think your brochure's in the post. You'll be starting your franchise. No.
Promise you, I am not a franchisee, as Sean says, for a number of reasons. In hindsight, would I have done it? Potentially, if I had known. But for me, I'm an oddball on it. I'm quite lucky. I found two lads who, by their own admissions, they're a bit of an oddball, and we're sort of an oddball unit that gets on very well. But that being said, I can see that for anyone who's considering it, I would definitely. All I would say to anyone considering a franchise is go and look at what it takes to run a business and understand. If you think you're going out to just be a pest controller and might have to answer the phone or something, the reality of that will hit you very quickly that you are not. And there is a lot to be done outside of making money to keep, I call it the unquantifiable jobs, which Sean's probably going to laugh at because everything's quantifiable in your world, isn't it? Yeah, I call it the unquantifiable job. So but I would say go and have a look at what goes into run the business, because it is it can keep you awake at night, can't it? It keeps me awake at night.
Come down and see us one day, Sean. Come down to Reading. Come down and see us.
I keep threatening to come down to Reading to do a training day. We are in the process of negotiating a venue. I believe that Alex has put us onto a church hall to do some pest software stuff. So if I'm down there, I'll call in and see you for definite.
Definitely do that. Definitely do that.
Maybe right.
Fantastic, guys. Right, my curry's waiting for me now.
God bless.
Excellent
Have a
stuff.
lovely night.
See you
Cheers,
later.
guys.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Beauties and Beasties podcast.